Hey, friends, Darren Bailey here with another informational-packed episode of our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and just desiring to learn more as we navigate this journey of government and we get our state back, we get our nation back, we protect our freedoms for our children, our grandchildren, our future. It is very important. Today in studio, I have Mike and Valinda Rowe. Mike, he's taken the background position, as he always does. He's pretty good to behind the scenes, and Valinda's going to be the spokesperson today. But Mike and Valinda are the founders of Illinois Carry, IllinoisCarry.com. And I would ask you to look them up and see what they've been doing, find out who they are, support them, join them. Mike and Valinda are, with other groups, but I'm going to give them credit for spearheading concealed carry in Illinois. And I know that by the time you hear this episode, it's going to be past the date, but today is it May 24th?
May 24th.
Today is May 24th, 2023, 10 years ago.
Today.
Exactly 10 years ago today and 10 minutes ago from when we started this podcast, concealed carry was adopted as law of the land in Illinois.
It passed the House. So
that was the first major
big
hurdle.
With Mike Madigan.
Yes. So I bring to you Miss Valinda Rowe from Carmi, Illinois, White County, an amazing place. Cindy and I have grown just to be dear friends with you and Mike, and as you are passionate about standing and fighting for our Second Amendment rights, I say thank you. So if you don't care, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you've been, and this journey with Illinois Carry.
It has been a journey. It really has. And thank you for acknowledging White County. We think that it is a fortress for the Second Amendment. Lots of good things about the Second Amendment have come out of White County, and we're proud of our county.
Yes, you should be. It's an amazing place. Cindy and I just continue to fall more and more in love with the county. We're frustrated about what the economy over the last several years, because since I started this journey, 6 years ago, 2017, I've seen a lot of businesses leave Carmi. And just we love the toy store and just many things have changed, and they're changing all over Illinois. And I know change always comes, but it doesn't have to take place in the form that dreams are being crushed and people are leaving. So, but 10 years ago we had an amazing victory with concealed carry that we never thought that we would see in Illinois.
Well, and it's kind of interesting that you say never thought we'd see. Because there were lots of people who said it would never happen in the state of Illinois. And so Illinois Carry started, a gentleman by the name of Ray Lubert put together this little online discussion forum called IllinoisCarry.com.
Now, that's where was he from?
He was over from the Highland area.
Okay.
And that was in 2004. Missouri was in the process of passing their concealed carry law, and he was interested in that discussion. So the IllinoisCarry.com discussion forum was born through his efforts. And it was a place for people to gather. There was probably in the beginning just a couple of dozen, maybe 45, 50 people that were interested in the topic and joined in on the discussion. And then Missouri passed their concealed carry law, and that inspired several of us to really start getting involved beyond just discussing the topic. So a group of us went to Missouri and met with the folks there that helped pass their concealed carry law and said, how on earth did you do this? How did you get this done? Because they had opposition from the city of St. Louis like we had opposition from the city of Chicago and the Cook County area. And they told us three things that we needed to do. They said, one, it's got to be a grassroots movement, and you know how important grassroots activity is from your campaigns. So it's got to be a grassroots effort. Somebody from the outside cannot come in and get legislation changed in your state. So it's got to be from the ground up. Secondly, you've got to get women involved because women follow through. But also, it's harder for a legislator to look a woman in the eye and say, you don't need to be able to protect yourself, as easy as it is to tell a man you don't need a gun. And thirdly, every state that had passed concealed carry, it's taken them 10 years, so you might as well get started now. And actually, by the time we celebrated May 24th, 2013, it was 9 years. So we got that far in 9 years. It took them a little longer with the process, but we felt pretty proud that we did it in 9 instead of the predicted 10.
Wow.
And when we started, the state and national gun rights groups didn't believe that concealed carry could be passed in the state of Illinois. In fact, our own senator at that time, we needed you back then to be our senator. Our very own senator back then just laughed and said, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. So we knew that we were kind of on our own starting out. And so we started with that grassroots movement. We set out with a plan to have educational town hall meetings, grassroots meetings in every single county in the state, with several of them in the Cook County, Chicago area, because it's such a large geographical and population-wise. And so we started that. We started those town hall meetings and educating people on what concealed carry is, the other states that had passed it. And through those efforts, we built the support and the knowledge that the legislators needed to get legislation going. And then also the process involved the court system, just like we are now with our several lawsuits in the courts. Back then, we needed legal action through the courts. And so in 2000, well, let me go back to the grassroots movement. In 2006, we approached the Illinois State Rifle Association. They had an annual lobby day that their members would go to Springfield and lobby their legislators. So we approached the ISRA and asked them, would they be willing to open up their lobby day to all gun owners throughout the entire state? And they agreed. They thought that was a good idea. And we made a good team. Illinois Carry, our folks, we could be the arms and legs, feet on the ground, and they helped with the funding and permits and things like that they knew about in Springfield. And so our first Illinois Gun Owner Lobby Day from that group effort was in 2007. And we went from having 65 to 100 people for Lobby Day, having 1,500.
I saw pictures of that. That was amazing.
Yes. The next year, we went to like 2,100, 2,300. The third year, then, we moved across the street and had to meet in the Prairie Capitol Convention Center because the support had grown so big.
Wow.
So then we also, because we do this on the legislative level, we also have to fight on the judicial level. Mike and I and a couple of our Illinois Carry friends, David and Colleen Lawson, heard about attorneys Alan Gura and Robert Levy, who were challenging the ban on handguns in Washington, D.C. And they were going to be speaking at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, which is an event sponsored by the Second Amendment Foundation. In 2007, I believe it was. They were going to be in Ohio. So the four of us agreed to just load up and go to Ohio and talk to these attorneys. And we got to meet with them, and we asked them when, not if, when you win your case against the ban on owning handguns in D.C., will you come to Illinois? And they said, we'd be very interested in looking at that and taking that on. We would need plaintiffs. And so we began working on that. And the dear gentleman that I had met through Illinois Gun Owner Lobby Day, Otis McDonald, we needed a plaintiff in the Chicago area and called him up and said, Mr. McDonald, there's this opportunity to challenge the ban on Chicago's ban on owning a handgun, possessing a handgun in the city of Chicago. And we know that it will take you some thought. This is a big step to take on the city of Chicago. But we're looking for several plaintiffs, and if you would, think about it and get back to me. And he said, I get emotional at this point, so bear with me. So on the phone, he says, I don't have to think about this. I have been looking for this kind of help my entire life. It's the right thing to do, and I don't need to discuss it with anyone. I don't have to think about it. I know it's the right thing to do. I will do this. And so we sent his information to the attorneys. And then in 2008, they won that legal case at the U.S. Supreme Court on D.C., Heller versus D.C.
So at that point in time, you couldn't even legally own a pistol
Right, a handgun.
in D.C. and Chicago.
Right.
I did, okay, wow.
So we couldn't really get concealed carry passed, a law to pass the right to carry a handgun when there was a whole huge part of our population that couldn't even own one legally.
Okay.
So we had to take that on first. So in 2008, I believe it was, they won the Washington, D.C. case. And within minutes of the ruling on that case, they were on the courthouse steps in Chicago filing.
Okay. Wow.
To take on the city of Chicago's ban. And then that case was won in 2010.
2 years, okay.
Yeah, which is lightning speed.
Yeah.
Because that case also had to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay. All right.
So with that win, then we were the whole time building support from the grassroots for the right to carry. And then it took a lawsuit against the ban on carrying then to push us over the finish line. And we knew a dear lady, Mary Shepard, a friend of ours that we had become acquainted with our town hall meetings. She had come to our town hall meetings. And sometime after that we met her, we heard this horrible news story about 2 women being attacked in their church and beaten and left for dead. And we were praying, this was down in Anna. We knew a lot of people in Anna, hoping and praying, for whoever this was, that they would survive the attack. And then we find out it was Mary Shepard.
Oh, my.
And so that just broke our hearts even more, knowing this firecracker of a lady who supported the Second Amendment had been beaten and left for dead in her church in the middle of the day. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon by a paroled felon who was looking to rob, we believe, the church or people in the church. And so as she was healing from her attack, then we approached her and said, would you be willing to testify in committee at the state capitol in support of the right to carry? And when this happened to her, she had 2 out-of-state licenses to carry in her purse, but no firearm, because there was a ban in the state of Illinois on having a loaded firearm on your person.
Okay.
So when this happened to her, she had the training, she had the carry licenses, but she was not afforded that right in the state of Illinois. So the doctors hadn't approved her to travel when it came time to testify. So what we did, Mike and I went down and we videotaped her testimony. And she gave us permission to use her photograph with her injuries from that day. And we put together a packet with the DVD of her testimony, photograph of her injuries, and it was presented to every single state representative and state senator in the Capitol, including the leadership.
Wow. And what year would this 10 still, or what year was it? Or what?
Let's see. This was probably 2010. The ban was covered. I would say this was probably 2012.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right. Okay.
It was 2013. Then we were making progress on actual language. And so in committee, then we presented that packet, and then I did her oral testimony in her place because she couldn't travel to the Capitol.
Wow.
And then she was a plaintiff then for a case by the NRA to challenge the ban on carrying in the state of Illinois. There was a sister case, Moore versus Madigan, which Mike and I also helped supply plaintiffs for, that was funded by the Second Amendment Foundation. And those 2 lawsuits are what got us over that barrier at the judicial level by declaring the ban on carrying outside your home unconstitutional.
Okay.
So with that, and with the grassroots support for a carry law, the two then is what got us past the finish line.
Okay. Wow.
So it was a busy, hard 9 years.
Okay. What was the makeup of the legislature then, Democrats, Republicans? Do you remember?
I don't remember the number, but they had a majority, but I don't
In
believe
both houses?
right, but I
Okay.
don't believe they had a super majority
Yeah, no.
like they did
No, this
later on.
last 2018 when I came in was the first time, 2019 was the first time they had the super
The
majority.
bill that passed in the House on this 10-year anniversary passed 85 to 30
Okay.
and one present vote.
Okay. So several, now we're looking at the polarization of government, and we're seeing for some reason the Democrats, all being against this stuff. But this is a Democrat that sponsored the bill at the time, wasn't it?
Yes, Representative Brandon
Yes.
Phelps.
Wow. Wow.
And in the Senate, it
10
was
years
Democrat
ago.
Senator Gary Forby.
So where was he from?
The Benton area.
Oh,
I
my
believe.
goodness. Okay. Think about that.
He was
So,
the one that told us early on it will never happen. In
he
the
was
state
the-
of Illinois.
okay,
So
all
it
right.
was quite enjoyable to see him sponsor that in the Senate.
Wow. What do you remember about some of the debate that took place? Was it I mean, the vote was extremely favorable. Was the debate hostile in any way, or did it?
Well, yes, it was. In some ways, the strong anti-gun legislators were very strong in their arguments, but there was complete silence on the floor when Representative Mike Madigan, Speaker of the House, stood up in his position as a representative in support of the bill.
Wow.
So yes, he in his address to the floor, he was saying that due to the grassroots support of the right to carry, he had tried building several different versions of the bill and couldn't quite get the votes on. I can't remember how many amendments they voted on, but his process was. Or what his prediction was, is the anti-gunners will run their bill and it will fail. The pro-gunners will run their bill and it will fail. Then I will run my bill. I will pass it in the House. It will pass the Senate. The governor will veto it, and I will override his veto. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay. All right.
His prediction he had
wow.
it all laid out, and that is exactly what happened.
Wow. What do you remember being the opposition 10 years ago? Especially with Mike Madigan himself supporting this. What was the bulk of the opposition?
The opposition was all, I think most, if I remember correctly, it was all out of Chicago.
Yeah, all right.
And it was the same prediction in all the other states that
All
passed
right.
the right to carry. It was there will be blood in the streets.
Yep.
There will
okay.
be blood in the streets if we pass this. And now here we are 10 years later, and concealed carry holders still are the least likely to commit
Right.
any kind of injury or crime with a firearm of the population.
Right.
We're the
Absolutely.
least likely.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, many times it's been concealed carry holders who have thwarted the crime, stopped something in
Yes.
progress, saved someone. So that's actually how I've been able to see it work out. So okay, so here we are 10 years later. What mission, what's at the forefront of the mission with Illinois Carry today?
Well, we thought basically when the right to carry was passed that would pretty much be fulfilling our journey. But what we became, and has been very rewarding, is that we have tried to become information central for everything on the Second Amendment for the state of Illinois. And so we have full-fledged discussion forums on Illinois politics, national politics, training, where to get training, questions about the FOID, questions about concealed carry license. And we have become very involved in helping people who have run into difficulties with their FOID and their concealed carry, because that's still not a smoothly operated process in the state of Illinois. There's delays, there are revocations, there's suspensions of FOIDs, and people don't have a clue where to start to appeal a suspension or a revocation, how to get their rights restored, and lots of legal cases for people who are needing to get their rights back.
Well, I'm a life member of ISRA. I'm a life member of GSL. I'm a life member of NRA, and do not intend this comment to throw anyone under the bus, but hands down, when someone comes along and asking me for details, and you guys have, that's why I know you're Illinois Carry, but I always call you IllinoisCarry.com, because that's your website.
And that's good. That shows people where to find us.
Yes. Yeah. And there's about 3 different Illinois Family Institute for pro-life and pro-family issues. There's wirepoints.org for the political and business models. And then there's Illinois Carry for the gun issues, because you guys do an amazing job. I want to make sure everyone finds you on Facebook, finds you on Twitter, and subscribe to IllinoisCarry.com, because if you're passionate about your gun rights, because you send out the updates whenever you ask someone to file a witness slip. It's simple, and you do it right.
Well, and when we send out our email alerts, we're not clogging up people's inboxes with
No,
a
you're
lot
not.
of
No, you're not.
unnecessary email. We don't do a lot of
Only when it's
fundraising,
necessary.
But when action is needed, then we will send out an email alert.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about fundraising, because I've never seen the option to be a life member or anything. How do you guys, and that's the other thing I admire about the two of you. You are probably the most mainstream, low-budget organization with the punch that I know that is in existence. And I do mean that, because I work with a lot of people. So what's the inner structure of Illinois Carry?
Well, Illinois Carry is an all-volunteer online action and discussion forum organization. We have members all throughout the state, and we have our discussion forum. You can, for free, there's no charge to participate. You just log in an account, and you can participate in the discussions. If you want to be a supporting team member, then it's you can donate $25 a year, and you get special, I don't know what you want to call them, features on the discussion forum, a larger inbox. You can edit your post, some different, added features to the discussion forum for that $25. But you can come there and ask questions and not have to be a member at all. And that's one of the things we pride ourselves on. We're willing to help whoever is asking for help.
All right.
To give them that information that they need. We do closely associate ourselves with the work that the Second Amendment Foundation is doing. They're the ones that have funded lawsuits that we've been a part of. Several years ago, I think it was in 2013, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, Illinois Carry was their grassroots activist group of the year. I was their grassroots activist of the year.
Wow.
And that was pretty exciting.
Wow.
But they came to us along the way and saw what we were doing and said, if ever you have a lawsuit in mind, a court case that you think you might need help with, put it together, present it to our attorneys. And if it looks like it's a goal, it's got good standing, it'd be a good case to take on, we'll fund it for you. So that was a real vote of confidence from them. So we have been with this, I call it the gun, magazine, and parts ban that the state has passed and the governor signed into law back in January. We have been taking donations, and we're putting it toward that litigation against those lawsuits. So we've got a donate link. We've got a subscribe link on our website if people need more information. If they know somebody that needs help with their FOID or concealed carry, they can contact us.
IllinoisCarry.com. It's pretty simple. What's your biggest? What do you feel the biggest threat right now today is? Again, it's May 24th. We're setting right now with a few days left of a session before the Memorial Day break in D.C. Session Well, the simple majority session is set to wind up by the end of May. Obviously, it's going to be a month later before people hear this broadcast. But what's the biggest
Yeah,
threat?
they'll know more then.
Yeah, I
They
know.
now.
There are a lot. Some things could change, but right now, today, what is the biggest threat that Illinois Carry is concerned about?
Okay, our biggest concern, I guess, right now are the last days of session because they can throw anything out there at the last minute. They suspend all the rules. They can hear a bill in 15 minutes. They can call it. So we don't know what they have in mind. They just passed another egregious bill that we'll be fighting, I'm sure, in the courts if the governor signs it. And but the way I see it is with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. Everybody has kind of nicknamed it the Bruin case. That Supreme Court ruled that the Second Amendment is just a foundational right. It's a basic right, no longer a second-class right. That it has really narrowed what states can do. Now, it's going to take a while for that to work its way back through the states, and Illinois is fighting it tooth and toenail. So we know, just like with a cornered animal, they fight the hardest when they're the most cornered. And so now we feel like the gun control groups and the anti-Second Amendment legislators are fighting hard because they see I believe they see the writing on the wall. A lot of these restrictions in Illinois are going to fall in the court system. They're going to be ruled unconstitutional. A lot of things, not only just the new stuff they've passed, but now they are risking losing some of the long-standing things like the FOID card, the $150 fee for concealed carry licenses that precludes a lot of people from even getting a license to carry. So they're fighting hard. We have no idea what they will throw at us next. But it's not like the old days where we knew we would be stuck with whatever they passed. We know now that whatever they pass, it's going to be challenged in court.
Yes.
And we have a tremendous opportunity and likelihood of winning those challenges. So it's kind of like, do your worst. We're ready, and we're going to take you on.
Yep. All right. Well, I love that. I think that's a good place to stop. There's a lot that can happen. I remain perplexed a lot, wondering why things are so different today than they were 10 years ago when Mike Madigan himself stood in support of this bill. And it's just, I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation, a Marxist socialist agenda to destroy a constitutional republic. And that literally is what we're fighting.
And they have to disarm us first.
They have to disarm us, right? Disarm us. You create lawlessness, take over our education in our classrooms, and that's how it happens. So you and I aren't going to let us happen. That's right. We're not going to let that happen.
No.
Thank you, Valinda.
Oh, thank you, Darren Bailey. We appreciate you greatly.
Friends, God bless you. Thanks a lot. Darren at BaileyForIllinois.com. Send me your ideas, your comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. And here's another episode for you. Just a lot of information for you. IllinoisCarry.com. Look these good friends up. Join, subscribe so you get updates and financially support them. God bless you. Thank you so much.